Westplex 107.1. The song title is about Shelley. The lyrics are about me. The song title is Beautiful People. And the lyrics are, we are not beautiful people. So that's how it all works out. Right?
You think that's how that works out?
Oh, I know that's how it works out. Man, we are going to have a fun day today because I got all sorts of things.
We are going to have a fun day because it's Valentine's Day.
You know what? I guess I'm just totally over the things like this, but I wish that I had invented Valentine's Day. By the way, I heard, I guess when you get to a certain point where you're used to just seeing businesses just crumble, we'll talk about a couple businesses that have declared bankruptcy recently, and one of them is, and I don't think we had them here in the St. Louis area, but one of them was called Papyrus. It was like a high-end greeting card
Yes.
store. Were they here in the St. Louis area?
The cards were. I don't know if the business was.
Well, they had stores as well too, retail stores. We could go in and buy their cards. But you're familiar with that?
Oh no, we didn't have one of those.
You're familiar with Papyrus?
But the cards were in.
Shelley still got
the places where you get greeting cards.
Shelley still got her sniffles. She's still got her cold. She's not doing well. Anyway, the that company, and I'm still trying to figure this out because I've seen contradictory stories online. When I first read this yesterday, it talked about Papyrus is closing all of their retail stores, but then it also talked about the fact that their owner, their company owner, called Sherman Papers or something like that, was the reason that actually Sherman Papers declared bankruptcy, but that they also owned American Greetings. But yet, I read one article that said that American Greetings was in the bankruptcy, and I read another article that said American Greetings was not in the bankruptcy. So here's the thing,
I hope they don't sit there and try to get rid of the greeting card industry because, an email is fine, but a letter is better.
Well, here's what I find interesting, okay? I have recently gotten into sending out cards. And I have these little, you know what I'm talking about. I had them printed up. I have these like little cards, and they just have my name on it, and they can be anything. I can just, put like, hey, thanks for being, one of our clients, or hey, thanks for, running me off the road. I ran your license plate and I found out where you live, and don't ever try that again because, I know where you live. I mean, I send out nice little cards.
I'll send my bruiser of a co-host over to you.
I'll send Shelley over to you, and she will talk to you. She'll talk to you for 2 hours nonstop, and then you'll call me up and go, I'm so sorry I ran you off the road. I'll never do that again. Leave her. Take her away. Don't leave her at my house anymore.
If somebody, that's really true. If somebody tried to ransom me off, they'd send me back.
So they declared, and like I said, I'm not sure if it's American Greetings, but here's what's sort of interesting to me. I'm sort of, a lot of things I do, I'm sort of against the grain.
You think?
Well, but see, here's I'm on the front end, and I'm on the back end of things. Okay.
That's not true. You're on the front end of things before they ever really get embraced.
I'm an early adopter, and I mean,
yes, you are,
to the point where I put my first website up in 1993. So I've been on the web for 27 years. 27 years. I've had an email address since 1991. How about that? How many people can claim that? Anyway, but the problem with that is that when you're doing something like that, and you and I talk about this all the time. If you have to explain it, you're never going to be able to sell it. Because at one point in time, with my old traffic reporting site, CompuTraffic.com, we had the most popular website in St. Louis, where, back in the 90s, I had hundreds of thousands of hits on it on a daily basis. And at one point in time, it caught the attention of Channel 5, and we were doing a deal with Channel 5 where you could see our traffic information on Channel 5. Traffic, cars out there on the road, not web traffic, but, vehicular traffic. And I could never make any money at it because the fact that I could go to people and say, hey, I've got this website, and not only do I have my own website, but our information's on Channel 5, and you can buy an ad in our traffic reports. And people look at me going, a what? I do a website? You're what? I don't get it. What? And nowadays, if I had that same traffic, I'd probably be making, literally, probably at least $200, $300, $400 a day just selling that traffic to advertisers. You know what I'm saying? And to the point where I was way ahead of the curve. Well, I'm also on the backside of the curve as well too. When everybody gives up on something, that's when I start doing it again. And that's when I started sending out like cards, to the point where and here's the thing. You haven't seen one of my cards when I've actually done it yet, have you?
I haven't.
I have the world's worst handwriting. And as I get older, it gets worse.
You write like a dude. That's not a lie.
Well, I mean, but as old people, you know how you look at their writing? I mean, like I'm an old guy now, so if you look at my handwriting, it's always been bad. Now it's bad times 2. So I have it where I type my cards out. I type them out, and then I sign them, and I put them in an envelope, and I stick a little label on it. I've got one of those little, brother, label makers that, you could put address labels on, and boom, I stick a label on it, and boom, out it goes. And, that's, stick a stamp on it. And here's what's funny. I go to the post office, and I ask for the most obnoxious stamps. And I don't know if you saw these stamps or not. I got to go buy some more before they run out. I bought these T-Rex stamps from the post office I've been using lately.
Yeah.
And they're like holograms.
Are they?
Honest to goodness, when you turn, the T-Rexes move. I don't know if that's a hologram or not. I guess it would be like
that's
a hologram.
That's a 3D. That's what 3D? Facebook is doing with a lot of their pictures.
Right. When you move it, when you turn it around and look at it, the T-Rex, and there's a couple other big old dinosaurs on there, and they're big monstrous stamps, and they're really obnoxious. And it's funny, every time I go to the post office and I go, I want the biggest, most obnoxious stamps you have, and the postal people always go, oh man, have we got stuff for you, because nobody else buys them. It's just weirdos like me that want the real, people are always going, I want flowers, or I want birds, or I want cats. No, I want obnoxious T-Rexes. That's what I want.
You want them to know that it's from you.
I want that stamp so big that I got to put the address in like little tiny letters, to fit it on the envelope. You know what I mean? I want
You're
that
funny.
stamp.
And I could so see that is just the quintessential Brad. Well, I could so see that.
No, but see, here's my point. When everybody else has given up on it, when you do it, it makes it that more special. When you get a card in the mail now, it's like, whoa, I got a card. And
I know. It makes you kind of feel special.
And someone actually, took the time to A, buy the card, B, write on it, C, address it, D, put a stamp on it, and E, take it to the post office. It's to the point where it's like, and it's interesting. I've been doing this for a couple months. I've already gotten 2 phone calls where, people that I sent them to, business people I sent them to go like, hey man, I got your card. I was sort of impressed. I get that. Now, 20 years ago, hey, you sent me a card. Oh, hey, everybody sends me a card. You know what I mean?
I do. So that's actually a really good business, a business tactic.
Well, but here's
to let people know that you appreciate them.
Here's the other problem.
What's that? One
person that I sent it to said to me, hey, the only cards I get in the mail anymore are from my grandma. So I'm going like, okay, I guess I'm an old dude, I'm sending out cards.
No, actually, you're not. That's actually coming back, and it should.
Well, there's this company.
It's a courtesy.
Have you ever seen this company? It's called, I think they're still around, called Send Out Cards. You ever seen this before?
Yes, I know about them.
Yeah,
I was actually thinking about joining them because I thought I wanted to start sending out cards as well.
But you know what the problem with Send Out Cards is? They have
What's that?
They have this goofy business model where you got to buy credits.
I don't understand.
Okay,
I haven't looked into it that much, so I don't know.
You can't just go on. What Send Out Cards is an online thing.
And they also send out gifts as well.
Unless they change the way they do business, it to the point where you couldn't just go online and say, okay, I'm going to send out this card, I'm going to put this picture on it, and it's going to cost me 92 cents. You got to buy goofy credits, and they go like, they're like, you have 100 credits, and it's like, okay, so how many cards will that give me? Well, it depends on the size of the card. It's to me, I'd rather go like, okay, go to the site, buy the card. Have it show up in my cart, okay, click on the cart, okay, this card's 98 cents, click, bonk, zoom, done. Instead, you gotta buy credits. And the reason for that is they're hoping you buy credits and you never do anything with them. It's sort of like all the people that buy lottery tickets and then they never even look at them.
Well, that's just silly.
Well, they're silly people. Anyway,
That's the whole purpose of a lottery ticket, is to sit there and scratch it off.
no, I'm not talking about the scratchers. I'm talking about the ones where like
the scratchers are much funner.
Yeah, but right away with the scratchers. That's why wouldn't
I know, it's instant gratification.
Yeah, but
we are an instant gratification kind of world, Brad.
But but see, you're missing my point. People aren't going to just buy
I always miss your point.
Well, people aren't going to buy a scratcher and throw it in a drawer. They're going to take the scratcher and they're going to scratch it off right away. I'm talking about when you go buy like for Powerball and stuff like that. You buy the ticket, and you stick it somewhere and you forget about it. Because of the fact you don't know if it's a winner until whenever the drawing is. If you if you buy it on a Monday, I mean, it's like 4 or 3 days until they draw. Is it Powerball on Wednesday or whatever the heck it is? You don't know. So anyway, we got a lot to talk about this morning. And,
we do. 6:17.
6:7. Oh, she's giving the time. You know what that means? Whenever Shelley gives the time, that means, Brad.
Yeah, but this isn't like the usual time thing that I'm doing.
Talking.
It really is 6:17, but
tired
normally
of
it's because
play some commercials.
I don't think I can control my my mouth.
Do you know what the official temperature is right now? Take a guess. Don't tell.
7 degrees.
You already looked. Yes, it's 7 degrees. 7 degrees. It's supposed to be 26 for the high today, 48 tomorrow, 48 Sunday, 53 on Monday, if you can believe that.
Woo-hoo.
Yeah, so, cold, cold, cold. We will take a break. We will be right back. It is 6:17. Westplex 107.1, you get my hint. 2 dance songs in a row. First, Justin Timberland, Just Dance, Dance, Dance. And then we've got Lady Gaga dancing.
So does that mean that I'm the dancing queen?
You're the dancing queen. I don't have that song on our library. I should play that. By the way, I saw a picture of her the other day, and I'm really jealous of what she was driving. She's driving an old Ford Bronco. The Ford Broncos that came out like in the 60s and the 70s.
I remember those.
Are now huge collector's items. I mean,
are they?
Oh my God! I see them online. I see ones that are like, they're like somebody's had in their barn for 30 years and it's all rusted out, and they're like $20,000 for them. I mean, some of them are crazy. Some of them, fixed up are over $100,000. Can you believe that?
Really?
And they probably sold for like sold for like $3,000 or $4,000.
It's a subculture. Everything has a subculture. Why don't you believe me when I tell you that?
Oh, no. I didn't say I didn't believe you. I didn't say that at all. Couple things to talk about this morning. Briefly, well, I tell you what, we're going to hold this on to the next one. Remind me, next break we'll talk about Jim Carrey and how he got in trouble on an interview. And quite honestly, this is one of these things where I'm sort of scratching my head on this. It's to the point where he said something to the lady who interviewed him, and like everybody's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe he said that."
He's Jim Carrey. He says anything he wants to say.
Thank you, Shelley Barr. I mean,
that's who he is. If
he were like,
you don't know he was like Robin Williams. You never know what's going to come out of the man's mouth.
Right. If he were like the King of England, and we have a queen, but you would expect a very measured response. A matter of fact, remember yesterday I talked about the story about the that happened back in the early 70s, the attempted kidnapping of Princess Anne.
Yep.
We talked about that yesterday, and there was a great quote in there that she gave all these medals to these guys. If you know the whole story, this was way back when.
I hope she gave a medal to the boxer.
Oh no, yeah, she did. She did. The story was that a guy tried to kidnap Princess Anne. She'd been at some kind of a charity event, and back in the day, they only had one, because in England nobody has guns, and her security detail, which was a Scotland Yard guy, plainclothes guy, was her security detail, and this guy, blocked the car in, got out, shot the security guy from Scotland Yard, shot the driver. Then a pedestrian came up and tried to help, shot the pedestrian, and then shot somebody else. And finally, a boxer, guy who would be an amateur boxer, came up and whacked him in the back of the head, and then punched him in the face, and he sort of stunned and ran away. But the point was that that was back then. And when she gave out these awards, she said under her breath, she gave out these awards, and she said to the one guy who was the boxer who punched the guy and sort of interrupted the whole kidnapping. He said she said under her breath, she says, "I give you this award as the Queen of England, but I thank you as the mother." Isn't that a great?
How cute is that?
Isn't that a great line? I mean,
it really is.
I mean, it's one of those things that one of my bosses used to always say, you should, and man, I flunked this. He says, you should always communicate with an economy of words. He says the best communicators communicate a good thought with the least number of words. So, I mean, that was one of those.
I must not be a good communicator because I'm like one of the most verbose people I know.
I flunked that, right? But I'm thinking to myself, I thank you as I award this to you as the Queen of England, but I thank you as a mother. And I thought to myself, wow, what a great line. You know?
That is pretty cute.
Essentially she was saying, hey, I'm the queen. I'm getting this award from our country. But you know what? You saved my daughter. And you know what? Thank you so much for that. And I thought it was anyway, we need to move on.
That was very profound.
Yeah. I can't say things like that. It takes me 10 minutes to say that guy. Hey, I want to thank you. I'm the King of England. And you know what? I really appreciate if you did. I can't tell you how much
No, you sound like me.
Right.
Okay, well, wait a minute. What I really meant to say was...
Did I tell you that I really am happy that you saved my daughter? And, and you know what? It was really good that you did that. And I'm going to give you this award, but first I want to thank you again. That would be me. Okay, 6:30. Westplex 107.1. Oh, come here, little girl. Sit next to me.
It's not like that. That's actually a lovely song that just reminds you of a simpler time.
You say that all the time.
I do. I really mean that. It takes me back to like the 70s where it's just, kind of like, not James Ingram. Who was that? George Benson. You're just sitting there and you're like, I don't know, driving around or walking around or you're in Shaw Park and it just reminds you of a simpler time. Or not. That's what I think.
Here's how
in Shelley world, that's what it means.
Here's how I get Shelley's attention. I learned this yesterday. I don't say anything. And then she starts to freak out. Well, are you there? Are you okay?
No, that's not why I do that. I do that so there's no dead air. Because you always told me, as my mentor, that the worst thing you could have happen on a radio station is dead air.
Or sometimes it catches people's attention. If I say, I'm going to tell you how to make $1 million today, and I'm going to tell you right now, people go, oh, he's going to tell me how to make $1 million. I'm going to listen. Or they're going to say, it's BS in the morning. It's not.
Yeah.
It's just BS. You can't fool us. Cold today. We'll have the complete forecast coming up with Jennifer
Wojcicki
in just a minute. Okay, the Jim Carrey story. I read this the other day, and I'm going to let the jury, meaning Shelley as a woman, comment on this. To me, I'm going like, and it's funny, he got in trouble for this interview, and exactly what Shelley said a few minutes ago, it's Jim Carrey, okay? Wacky kind of guy, things come out of his mouth, it would be sort of like...
He started as a comedian.
Right, it would be sort of like interviewing Howard Stern and him not using the F-bomb, you know what I mean? It would be to the point where if he sounded like a college professor, you'd go like, hold on, are you Howard Stern? Are you really Howard Stern? Anyway, he was being interviewed by this woman. I can't remember. It was some online publication or some newspaper. I don't remember what it was. But she was doing like, hey, it's amazing. And one of the things he talked about in the interview was, and I've read this before, is that he wrote a check to himself for $10 million when he was a young, struggling comedian. And he said, essentially he wrote a figurative check to himself for $10 million, and he said...
It was his vision board.
Yes.
It was a man's vision.
Right.
That was a man's rendition of a vision board.
And he was going to cash that check one of those days, which he did, because obviously he made a lot of money with the movies he did. So she's asking about his life and how he got started and the whole thing like that. And she said, do you have a bucket list? And he said, yes, I do. And he says, I've been very lucky in that I've done everything on my bucket list except for one thing. And she says, what's that? And he says, you.
Okay, so what does he mean by that? I mean,
Well,
it doesn't matter to me. I thought it was kind of cute, but
obviously he's, there's a couple different interpretations. The interpretation that the haters got was that he was being, sexually overt in that he wanted to have sexual relations with her. And
Okay.
and I'm going like, once again, you know what? It's Jim Carrey.
yeah,
I mean, it's
yeah.
like,
I don't take. I would actually be flattered myself,
well, but once again, it's like okay, so it was like he's hitting on her. Okay, yeah. So what else is? I don't think he's married. Maybe he is. I don't know. Who knows? I mean,
who knows? He actually tries to keep out of the media's attention.
he sort of
actually.
disappeared. You don't see him too much anymore. He's become very politically active and
Oh, has he?
Oh
I didn't
yeah,
know that.
yeah. I think he's a big Bernie supporter. He's but once again, it would sort of be like back in the day saying something to Don Rickles and have him, one of his classic, cut down comeback lines. That's what you expect from the guy. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Right.
We're dating ourselves because there's probably a lot of people who don't know who Don Rickles is.
But there are current. I mean, Jim Carrey is still, relatively, current because he's still in, movies that are shown a lot and stuff like that. It's not like
I
Don
didn't say we were dating ourselves with Jim Carrey. With Don Rickles, we were though.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is he, that Jim Carrey is still, but even Don Rickles. I mean, there are people that are younger than you and I that remember Don Rickles. I mean, geez, he was on, he's been on. I can't remember when he died, but I remember he's been on several of the late night shows. I think back in the early 2000s. I think he was on. I think I remember seeing him on a interview show with Bob Costas, and he was really funny. With Bob Costas is an excellent interviewer, and it was a really funny bit that him and the amazing thing is that there's some people when you pull the curtain back, there's some people that like one of the things that Jay Leno got criticized for was the show was too rehearsed, that they would get the guests on there before the show and they would essentially, okay, now Jay's going to ask you this and here's what you're going to respond. And the shows were sort of, phony baloney. But yet, there were some
People
guests.
can't say that about us, can they?
Yeah, there's no way we rehearse this stuff we talk about. So anyway, that's the story. So women, you know what? I get it. Some people that are upset about that. To me, it's like, okay. It would be like if you get pulled over by the cops and you looked at the cop and said, "Officer, what was I doing?" And he said, "Driving like a maniac." I mean, it would be like, okay, I get it. That's what a cop would say. He wouldn't say, "Well, actually, I saw you exceed the speed limit by 3 miles an hour, and then I saw you, do an illegal lane change without your blinker, and then I noticed that your license plates are expired." I mean, he wouldn't talk like that. Well, maybe they would. I don't know. Most of the cops that pull me over don't. Most of the cops pull me over. Last time I got pulled over, the guy had his gun out. But that's a whole nother story.
The last time I got pulled over, he called in backup.
Well, do you find that hard to believe? I don't.
I'm sorry, what?
I said, do you find that hard to believe? I sure don't.
I do.
I'd call backup on you, too.
Yeah, he called for another car. I'm like, are you serious?
I think that's a good move, tell you the truth. We got to take a break. Weather's up next, 647. Westplex 107.1 with the donut liquor. Yes, boyfriends.
Donut liquor. She's never going to... You're never going to let that moniker go, are you?
The donut liquor. If you've ever seen the video, it's just sort of like, okay, what was she thinking? But, give her the benefit of the doubt, right? At least they'd give her the benefit of the doubt. If I did that, I'd be in jail right now. Think about it. If you and I did that.
As we all would.
If you don't know what we're talking about, her and her boyfriend, and there was another couple. They go into a donut shop somewhere, and she licks some of the donuts and sticks them back. Like, ugh.
Well, she probably thought, oh my gosh, if I lick this donut will be worth $10,000.
I don't think that's what she was thinking.
$1 billion.
But anyway, that's a whole nother story. Gas price. You know what? I forgot to check. I didn't need gas yesterday. I remember we talked about that Quick Trip changes the price on Thursdays. Did you buy gas by any chance yesterday?
No, but I have to. But do you know that the last time I got gas, it was under $2?
That's what I was talking about, and I was curious if it went up yesterday because I paid the lowest
It's
I
like
paid.
203. Well, I don't know, actually.
Well,
I came home late last night and I didn't pay attention because I was tired and I just wanted to
I paid
come
earlier
home.
in the week. I paid $1.96. So we have this running thing, and I have people, and once again, this was told to me by someone in the gas station business that Quick Trip adjusts their prices typically on Thursday, and everybody follows Quick Trip because Quick Trip is usually the lowest, so that if Quick Trip drops their price, everybody else drops their price, and the other way around. If Quick Trip ups their price and they do it on Thursday, unless there's been some crazy kind of thing where the Iranians have blown up some kind of a pipeline or something like that, then the price just goes up right away. But anyway, that's the story.
I always heard it was Tuesdays, so I'm still going with my Tuesdays. You go with
wrong.
your Thursdays.
No.
I'll go with my Tuesdays.
No, I've noticed it on Thursday quite a few times. So
I've noticed on Tuesday for quite a few times.
Well, you don't go to QT, and furthermore,
yes, I do. There's one right down the street from me.
You don't go to the best QT, which to me is the GHQT.
I know it is. I know it is.
Yeah.
But mine on Kisker, it's a pretty good QT, and it's a police substation. How do I know that? Because that's where I got pulled over, and he called for backup.
well, you know what though? We hope that Ariana Grande never goes to that QT and licks the donuts.
Yes, we do, because it would be sad if she licked all those donuts.
Right. The police would get most upset, as would I, because I'm a big donut guy too. And
yes, we know.
Yes.
Although you haven't had a picture with your sprinkles lately. What's up with that?
Because of the fact that I have Schnucks Schnucks is doing some weird things, which sort of bothers me a little bit.
Somebody commented on your Facebook page.
Well,
have you been to the donuts with Schnucks? Are they blah 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 blah? And I'm like,
oh no,
really?
that's I've got a couple guys who follow me on Facebook. And man,
you have a lot of people that follow you on Facebook, Brad. You've got 5,000 friends.
I shouldn't say this, but both of these guys are radio wannabes. And man, this is going to sound really negative when I say this.
They're probably listening, so why don't you just stop right there?
They probably are. And they were radio wannabes, and every time I post something on Facebook, and I try to be positive with my posts. I'm not on there like, I can't believe that. I'm not on ranting normally. Every once in a while, something that'll tick me off, I'll put on there. But one of the guys, and he'll remain nameless, was saying, I went to Schnucks the other day and got some donuts, and they were stale. Well, knowing this guy, he went to Schnucks on a Friday, and then he ate the donuts on Tuesday. You know what I mean? It's been to the point where this guy's sort of a weirdo to begin with. And I'm going like, okay, why would you put that out there? I've never had a bad donut at Schnucks. And what I was going to say was, what I'm not real wild about they're doing at Schnucks is that most of the Schnucks stores you used to be able to go to and used to be able to buy like individual cookies and individual bagels. Well, in some of the Schnucks stores, they're changing that where you have to buy like a bag of cookies that has like 3 cookies in it. And I don't want 3 cookies. Sometimes I just want 1 cookie. And Deerberg's is doing the same thing. I went into Deerberg's the other day. I love bagels. I went to Deerberg's the other day, and they go back and, like where the bins are, where the bagels and the cookies, now they're in bags of 3. I'm going like, I don't want 3 bagels. I want 1 bagel. Used to be able to go, and then put it on the scale. And if you check out yourself and you put 1 and it, weighs it to make sure you're not cheating. And I'd go in, and a lot of times at Schnucks, I'd go in and I'd buy 1 bagel and one cookie. That would be like my lunch sometimes, and you can't do it anymore. And
you have the appetite and the taste of a 4-year-old.
I'm telling you. Me and Warren Buffett, I wish I had his money, but if you ever read about Warren Buffett, he drinks 5 cans of Coke a day, because he's an investor in Coke, and he eats ice cream for breakfast. And the guys,
I eat ice cream for breakfast.
The guy's like in his 80s and still going strong. So maybe there's something to be said about having 5 cans of sugared soda per day and eating ice cream for breakfast. Maybe that's the way to do it. Hey, we were running way behind. It's all Shelley's fault. I'll never do false accusations. I'll always take the blame, and it has nothing to do with me. It's all to do with Shelley. We'll be right back at 7:00.
Yeah.
Westplex 107.1, 11 blocks. Good morning to you. It is BS in the Morning. I am Shelley, and she is Brad. You can check out our website at bsinthemorning.show. Right, Shelley?
Absolutely.
She had to pick up her Nord because she had the microphone. She was trying to smoke.
No, that's not true. I had my microphone sitting down because I was just still jamming to the song.
Shelley was trying to smoke her microphone and talking to her Nord. That's what she normally does.
That's what I normally do.
Okay,
yes.
First off,
just so you know, people, a Nord is a vape.
Yes.
So I quit smoking January 1st.
Yes.
Applause.
Right.
Applause.
Right.
But now I vape.
Yes.
So, I know one thing at a time. I know I need to get off the vape, but at least I'm not smoking a cigarette. So.
Congratulations. I'm so proud of you. And I really am. I mean, smoking is a quite honestly, I think it's a terrible thing. But I don't try to be.
It is a nasty habit.
Well,
yeah,
I don't
but
try
I've been doing it's been like a friend to me.
Yeah.
I mean,
I get it.
I've smoked since I was 13. I started smoking because I wanted to make my mom mad. And I've been doing it ever since.
One of my sons smokes, and it always bothers me that he does, but that's a whole other story. Okay, two things to talk about here. First off, I didn't take a shower this morning, okay? And I know I smell.
That was lovely.
Well,
Thank you for that overshare.
But
TMI.
It wasn't my choice because if I showed you my place right now, the thermostat is set at 45, okay? 45.
Okay.
And so I go into my shower this morning, turn the knob, nothing happens. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, they've turned my water off. I forgot to pay the bill. So I think to myself, no, hold on a minute. Maybe there's just something wrong with my shower. So I turn on the sink and the water works. And I flush the toilet and the toilet works. And I go back and I turn on the shower again, nothing. So apparently my pipe froze in the wall for the shower. Ugh.
Oh, that sucks. It's not like going down in the basement, is it?
Yeah, but I don't think. But see, it happened one time before, and I had to tear the wall out because the pipe broke. So I may not have a shower for a while. So anyway, number two.
There's always a truck stop, Brad.
There's always. I can go out to. I think where's the closest one that has the showers? Is it Quick Trip out
Gold's.
there in St. Peter's? Do they have the showers out there? The one it's on across the.
Yeah, the one they probably do.
On the other side of from the mall.
Yeah, it's a truck stop.
Yeah, I know. I don't know if they have showers or not. Anyway, okay, so I go to Schnucks last night, and if I told you, I'll be blatantly honest and tell you that I had this craving, which last night at like 9 o'clock, and I go, oh, I gotta have one. The GHQT, as I call it, the Schnucks by me, has Hostess products, 10 for $1, are $1 a piece. Okay. And I had this strange craving for Hostess cupcakes.
Do you know that they come in mint now? Chocolate mint?
Somebody told me that, but these weren't the mint ones. Okay, so
okay, excuse me.
I go to Schnucks, and it's super cold. And I walk into the GH Schnucks, and there's a planter box out in front of the Schnucks, and there's a guy sitting there. And as I walk in, he says to me, hey, man, can I talk to you a minute? And I knew he was going to ask me for money. And I said, can I catch you on the way out? And he goes, yeah. So I go in and I buy my I want to tell you this, you're not going to believe it. I buy this is my dinner. I buy one cupcake, Hostess cupcake, 2 in a pack for $1.
Yeah.
And I got Mountain Dew cans on sale for 79 cents. So I buy a Mountain Dew can.
You're in Nirvana.
Yeah, I buy a Mountain Dew can of soda for 79 cents and my Hostess cupcakes. And I'm going like, okay, I'm going to go out and eat in my truck. This is my dinner. So I walk out, and I told the guy I was talking to him on the way out. So I walk out, and I said to him, hey, man, you said you want to talk to me. He says, yeah. He says, I'm really cold out here, and they won't let me in the store. I need some cash for a coat. He says, and I need a blanket. And I'm going like, okay, he's out here in front of Schnucks. He's got a pretty nice looking coat on, but yet he's panhandling. And I said to him, hey, man, I can't help you out. And he looks up at me, sitting down. He looks up at me. He says, man, he says, you look like a cowboy from an old-time movie. I swear to God, that's what he said. I said to him, what? And he says, you look like a cowboy from an old-time movie. One of those old movies like with John Wayne. I go, I look like a cowboy? Yeah, you're a dead ringer for a cowboy. And I'm going like, okay. So I walk out to my truck, and I think to myself, that's the nicest thing somebody said to me all day. He said, I look like a cowboy from a John Wayne movie. I'm thinking to myself, what a nice thing. So I drove up, pulled up to the curb, and, and he's still sitting there, and I honked my horn. He walked over, and I gave him $10. And he fist bumped me, and he says, dude, you don't know what this means to me. And he walked away.
Aww. Look at you leaving a ripple.
But a cowboy.
You're not a dog-faced pony soldier at all.
Yes, a dog-faced, whatever the heck.
A lying dog-faced pony soldier. You're not that at all.
Pony soldier, whatever
you
he
are
said.
A cowboy.
If you don't know what we're talking about, that was Joe Biden earlier this week. Some lady asked him a question at a town hall meeting, and he called her, was it a lying
dog-faced pony soldier.
It's like, where did that come from? He claims it's from a John Wayne movie, but the John Wayne expert says that that's not from a John Wayne movie. They don't know where that came from. So, do you think I look like a cowboy?
I do sometimes, yes. I do. You have a little swagger just like John Wayne does.
I have a little swagger because
you do. You have a swagger.
I walk weird is what you're saying.
No, that's not what I'm saying. I said, did you hear me say that?
Yeah,
no.
well, that's
what I said was you have a swagger.
Just
like John Wayne did. He had a swagger. I mean, you knew what he was. When he was walking, you knew from the back that was John Wayne by the way his swagger was.
So you're saying he said that because the way I walk?
No, because you're wearing cowboy boots for one. And I don't know what you were wearing. But
well, I had last night because it was cold. I had my bunny slippers on. So
no, you didn't. Stop it.
Oh no, I wear my bunny slippers whenever I fly. That's when whenever I fly, I wear my bunny slippers. That's better. I get dressed up to go on the plane. I wear my bunny slippers.
Easier to take off when you go through not customs, but what is that called?
Yeah, well, my normal garb when I fly is I wear my bunny slippers, I wear my workout shorts, and I wear my well, you can't say wife beater anymore. I wear my strapped T-shirt. Because it's funny. I said that in front of somewhere where I was, and I said something about there was a couple women there, and I said something about. There was this guy I know that used to always wear strapped T-shirts. I'm trying to be politically correct. And the one lady says, do you mean a wife beater? I'm going like, yeah, that's what I mean. But, I can't say that anymore. You can say that. I can't say that because that's politically incorrect. You can't say it's a wife beater, right?
Not everybody is all pent up on things, Brad.
So
most people are, but not everybody.
So
some people are kind of cool.
So I got my.
I interrupting you?
Yeah, no, you're not. So but you're being playful this morning. So you know how I get back at Shelley whenever she starts to do weird stuff like that. You know how I get back at her?
Please don't. Oh, that's okay. They don't have dog catchers in the government. I believe that. Drawback 2 and punt.
That's all I have to do, and then Shelley's quiet. Okay, so you're saying I have my John Wayne swagger. That's what you're saying.
Yes.
Okay. So.
And your cowboy boots. I'm just telling you. That's, you do resemble a cowboy.
Hey, Pilgrim.
Hey, Pilgrim.
I can't do the John Wayne.
Pilgrim. I can't either. I'm a chick.
Yeah. What's funny? It's just.
Do you know he had like a 30-pound?
Don't even talk.
Organ
Don't talk about that because I think that's BS. I've read that before, and I've heard doctors say they said that's total BS what they said about him. But that's another story.
Because he was not a big man.
Well, he's bigger than Michael Bloomberg. That's for sure.
Isn't everybody bigger than Michael Bloomberg?
Whoa! Listen to you. 720. Westplex 107.1. Where is the love? 724. It's BS in the Morning. I am Brad. She is Shelley. You can check out our website at bsinthemorning.show. The website for the station is westplex1071.com. Okay, Shelley, you tell me I go off and rants all the time and I get upset about things like that, right?
Yes.
There's an article this morning about a woman who runs a not-for-profit, at least she did, she's not there anymore. She runs a not-for-profit agency, an NPO, nonprofit organization, in Florida called the Florida Coalition Against Domestic Violence. Okay, sounds like a good thing to do. Coalition Against Domestic Violence. They have a contract with the state of Florida to counsel women and men who are involved in violent domestic relationships. Okay, sounds like a great calling, and I'm serious. I mean, it sounds like a good calling, right? The reason the governor is upset is because her annual salary is $700,000. She's had this job since 2010, and in her contract, it also says she gets 50 paid days off per year. She did not use those paid days, and just before she quit, she took the paid days off and got paid $5 million for her 50 paid days off. Also in her contract, she gets a car and an allowance at, quote, an executive retreat at the place of her choosing. And keep in mind, this is a not-for-profit agency that has a contract with the state of Florida, which is essentially counseling domestic violence men and women. Okay? So she's making $700,000 a year. She gets a car. She gets 50 paid days off. She didn't use them for 10 years. She cashed them in. She got a check for $5 million, and she quit. What are we doing wrong? And the reason I say that is I don't want to sound like I'm a jerk, but you and I are exposed to not-for-profit organizations. And we do work for several of them.
Yes.
And not saying which ones are which. And the reason I've stopped doing things for some nonprofit organizations is that I find out that they're making a ton of money. And
well, of course they are.
Well, but it's not going to what they're supposed to be doing. I mean, not all of them.
Well, Brad, these people deserve a paycheck. I think that hers was a little extravagant. Thank you very much. I mean, I'm a little, dismayed about that. But, even though they work for a nonprofit, they have to make money. They have to make a living.
But they don't pay taxes. They don't pay, like if they own real estate. Like, for example, if it's a church or if it's a nonprofit organization, if they own real estate, they don't pay taxes on it. In our industry, the religious broadcasters do not pay any fees to the FCC. When we have to renew our license, we have to do things, various forms we have to file with the FCC. We have to include payment. They do not. There's all sorts of different things. They don't pay sales tax. They don't pay real estate tax. And I'm going like, now hold on a minute. I mean, look at the in St. Charles County. Okay, and boy, I'm going to get in trouble for this, but
please.
They talk about
be wise with your words.
Look at like St. Louis County. Look at St. Louis City. Okay, they're talking about we don't have enough taxes. Tax the churches. I mean, if you taxed all the churches for the real estate, I mean, geez Louise, we'd be able to fix all the roads and put up new bridges and stuff like that.
Or just make marijuana, legal.
I told you about that.
Like Illinois did.
Well, there were the mayor.
They can earn $6 million in taxes.
Oh, no, the mayor of Collinsville. I heard him interviewed the other day, and the first marijuana dispensary in Illinois and Collinsville. Okay, it's only been open a month, and in the first month they made like $12 million, and the mayor of Collinsville was on there going, "Well, we're going to get $3 million, in taxes from the marijuana dispensary." I'm going like, okay, here's the other problem. We're off the topic here, but how are they going to get it? Are they going to give them cash? Because once again, in Illinois, you can't, or in the States, you can't
put the money in the bank.
You can't open up a bank account. What do? You show up at the city hall. Hey, got a truck of $3 million for you, Mr. Mayor of Collinsville. You want to come out and pick it up?
Maybe he'll take it up in Bitcoin.
I don't know. I don't know how they do it. Anyway, so that's my deal. So she makes $700,000 a year, and by the way, after a couple newspaper articles in Florida newspapers, she quit because she was taking heat because people are going like, "Hold on a minute, you're getting paid." I know a couple of people who run NPOs who shall remain nameless because I want to get them in trouble, and both of them make six figures, and I'm thinking to myself, okay, good for them. But by the same token, it's like, I don't think that's right. I really don't.
Well, for all intents and purposes, they're the president and CEO. Presidents and CEOs make six figures.
Yeah, but
they just do.
But once again, it's to the point where if this is and both of these people that I know that work for nonprofits, the nonprofits are funded by your and my tax dollars. That's how they get their money. For tax,
Okay.
the money their pay, the money for their agency comes from tax dollars. I don't think that's right. I think that our tax, just like this thing that's come out with Donald Trump, which I'm a really big opponent of on this because I think he's totally wrong on this. He's got this thing, was in the news last couple of days. He says that when we build government buildings, we should go back to building them the way we did, like in the 1800s. Like you go down to see the old courthouse, or you go to Jefferson City and you see the Capitol building. There's the ornate buildings. I'm saying,
I agree with that.
You agree with that?
I do.
I say bring in some double wides.
Absolutely not.
Put them in shipping containers that they build out. You know what I mean? Why should our tax dollars go for some fancy place that the government workers work in? No. When you and
that people come to see the government workers.
But once again, why does it have to be fancy schmancy stuff? Why can't it be like, okay, why can't
just
it be...
because you're a minimalist, Brad, doesn't mean that everybody else is.
Okay, I think the government should take a hint from Walmart. Their buildings are not fancy. They're functional. You go in, the lights are on, air conditioning works in the summer, heat works in the winter. The floors are nice and clean. That's all you need. You don't need fancy weird buildings with carvings and stained glass windows and vaulted ceilings and all that kind of stuff. I
think that's lovely.
Oh, it's a waste of money. Waste of money.
There's a lot of things that are a waste of money, but at least that, those buildings from the 1800s are still standing.
Shelley, I have a building from the 1800s. It's a nightmare. A nightmare.
Have you been maintaining it?
Once again, you ever heard the saying about a boat? You know what a boat is? If you buy a boat, you're going to lake, own a boat like down the Lake of the Ozarks. Do you know what a boat is?
What?
It's a hole in the water you pour money into. Okay.
Well, do you know what HD stands for?
Harley Davidson.
$100.
Okay, everything's $100. Okay, but once again, the point being is that the old buildings they were made before there was air conditioning. They were made before, and not only that, the buildings like that are tremendous energy hogs because of the fact that, like, to heat them,
when they built them now, they wouldn't be.
They still would
because
be.
we have and as far as the ornate stuff, they could sit there and do a 3D.
Yeah, they're going to print it on a 3D printer, right? Instead of having somebody carve it, they're going to have somebody, once again, go to Walmart. You don't see any carvings. You don't see any stuff like that. And yet they're very functional. They make lots of money. They keep their costs down. That's why you and I go in there and pay. That's why the whole trend is now, instead of going to like places like Saks Fifth Avenue and places like that, you go to Wally World, and buy stuff cheap because of the fact that the overhead's low.
The only thing I buy from Wally World is my jammies.
We won't go there. 7:33. Westplex 107.1. It is BS in the Morning. Brad and Shelley. She's Brad. I'm Shelley. BSinthemorning.show is our website. I have to tell you, Shelley, today is Valentine's Day, and
it is.
I am going to go on record of saying that in the next year or so, Valentine's Day will be different. There will be something missing because of environmentalists. And you know what that is?
Valentine's Day cards.
They're not happy about that. But you know what they're really unhappy about? And I'm starting to see more and more of this in the press.
What?
Helium balloons.
Helium balloons?
Yes.
Helium balloons are a part of Valentine's Day. They're part of birthdays. They're part of anniversaries. They're part of...
Okay.
Galas, they just are. You just
write this down.
They're like a staple.
I get it. Write this down, but here's what's going to happen, because I'm already seeing the seeds of it being sown already. Helium is getting to be tougher to find, and the government has a big stockpile of helium still to this day, because they use it for various uses. But the reason they have a stockpile
is like talking in funny voices.
Yeah, right. Donald Trump will go like if he's talking to the Democrats, he'll go, hold on a minute, and he'll take a hit off the other. He'll be like, you Democrats are a bunch of jerks. That's what he'll do. Right. That's what he'll do.
I'm Donald Trump, and I'm running for president.
Right.
I have approved this budget.
Right. I'm a billionaire and you're not. Right. Just do stuff like that. Okay, so
Sorry. Go on.
the environmentalists are going after helium because it's being depleted rapidly, and for a while it got to the point where helium got to be very hard to get. And what they're saying is, and I read this the other day, that an environmental group came out and said how horrible it was that this precious gas that we don't have enough of is being squandered by people who put it in balloons and give it for birthdays and not Halloween and Valentine's Day. So you watch that in the coming years. I think you're going to see this more and more, where helium will sort of, to the point where either it's going to get super pricey, like it was for a while, or it's going to be to the point where people are going to say, well, we can't get helium anymore because it's not environmentally correct. And also, the other thing was that the guy said, I read this article, and the guy said, it causes problems for birds. I'm going like, okay, let me think about this for a
Because
minute.
the migratory waterfall runs into them when people release them.
Don't know. I mean, he said it causes problems for birds. And I'm thinking like, okay,
I know. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I mean, okay, but so a helium balloon, if you're a bird flying along and you hit a helium balloon, it's not like you're hitting the side of a building or like a window. Sometimes you have birds that fly into like windows and things like that. Matter of fact, when we had when we were on the 39th floor of the Met Square building years ago downtown, you'd be up there and every once in a while you bonk and birds would fly into the side of the building. I don't know why, they just would. But anyway, so mark my words, in the next couple of years, I got a feeling that the environmentalists will come out in force for the anti-helium people will come out.
Oh, blah, blah, blah. Sometimes I think people just sit around and think stuff up.
Well, I mean, in this case, they've come out saying but part of it was...
that what was I buying? I was buying something, and, I was trying to buy a something to carry, like a purse, but
Right.
I wasn't using it as a purse.
Right.
Okay. And the place where I was at had proudly said that this rack of purses is vegan friendly and PETA approved. That just made me not want to buy it at all.
So-
I walked away from it.
So that means they're not leather. Is that essentially what it means, right?
Correct.
Okay. Okay.
But that was not a selling point to me. Who is that a selling point to?
Oh, I know people who that'd be a selling point to. I know them. And to the point where I've had people come up to me and say the damnedest things. Sometimes, I remember one time somebody came up to me and said something that I was killing the environment because I was cutting my grass. I'm going, okay, am I killing them? Well, do you know your lawnmower emits more emissions than your car does? And I go,
Okay,
well,
so
I
what are you
can't.
supposed to be doing? Cutting it with a pair of scissors?
Well, no, I said to the guy, but my lawnmower attachment won't fit on my car. And he got really mad. I still remember that. It was funny because he's,
That's funny.
Well, it was. It was that point where like, your lawnmower puts out more emissions than your car. Okay, whatever.
You're supposed to be having a push electric lawnmower. Oh my gosh. Then the Tesla people can come out with a battery powered, like the big lawnmowers that you have, like the zero turns, but battery powered.
Yeah. Well,
No?
well, they say that's going to be the future with like lawn equipment. You're already starting to see it in chainsaws and string trimmers and things like that. Most of the major brands like Steel, they have like the battery powered ones. But see, the thing that always cracks me up about that, here we are in the Midwest, right? You know where most of our electricity comes from? coal. It's not like it's not like we're when you plug your Tesla in. Guess where? Go look across the river in Labadie, in Franklin County, or go into St. Charles County and look at the the Portage de Soup power plant. I mean, guess what? That stuff coming out of the stack. That's emissions from coal. So your clean burning Tesla, or your whatever your hybrid is, or your plug-in is burning coal, is fossil fuels. So, but now I'm telling you, I wish I'd have a Tesla, because I'd put up about 15, 20 solar panels in my backyard, and I'd just plug my Tesla into my solar panels, and that way I would truly be environmentally correct, right?
That is true, and we would wrap that baby quicker than you could blink an eye.
Right, and when she means wrap, she's not talking about the stuff on the on the car. She's talking about, I got my Tesla, it sure is fine. I got mine too. You should have mine, right? That's the way we'd wrap it, right?
That's the way we wrap.
Yeah.
Only we're usually a little bit more rhymey.
Weather's coming up with Jennifer
Wojcicki.
right after this. Westplex 107.1, the remix of Louis Capaldi. I just said that. She's always jumping in. She's like Shelley. She just can't stop talking, right?
She just keeps talking and talking and
Talk. That's all she does.
talking and talking
Yeah. I got it. It is BS in the
and
morning.
talking some more.
I am
This is called karma, Brad.
karma. Why is that karma? Because you're making fun of me now? Is that what it is?
No, I'm not making fun of you.
You're going to leave
I would
me.
never do that.
And you're going to leave me. You're going to head a nonprofit organization where you're going to make $500,000 a year or something like that, $700,000 a year, like that gal in California. And then she cashed out her days off, and for 10 years of working there, she got $5 million.
That was Florida.
Yeah. Well, you don't think that happens here?
Well, I do think it happens here, but truthfully, I mean, when you think of a nonprofit, you think that those people shouldn't make money, but they have to live. They have to make money to. Yeah,
$700,000 a year is. I don't know how she gets by.
Well, maybe that
man.
was a little extravagant.
I don't know. $700,000 a year. I mean, how does she afford groceries on that? Anyway, let's talk about something else, which I think is sort of sad. Yesterday, McClatchy newspapers filed bankruptcy. Some of you go like, McClatchy, who's that? McClatchy is a big news organization. We don't have any of their papers here in the St. Louis, but there's one across the state. The Kansas City Star is owned by McClatchy. I believe 183-year-old company, family owned, still to this day, run by the McClatchy family. They declared bankruptcy yesterday. And,
are they reorganizing?
Well, yeah, Chapter 11, and they're probably going to be taken over by a company called Alden, A-L-D-E-N, which has been buying up small, medium, specifically small and medium-sized newspapers all over the country. This is the thing that sort of caught my attention, and this is sort of like we talked about the situation with so many states and municipalities, like Illinois being one of them, that has this tremendous debt on pension benefits. And here's the statistic, depending upon who you believe, the official news release I saw yesterday from the bankruptcy court said that for every one employee who's working for McClatchy nowadays, okay, there are 10 on pension. So, in other words...
Meaning that they retired and...
Yes.
Okay.
And I always get myself in trouble because anytime I say something about pensions, people, especially the teachers, oh my God, if you say anything about the teacher, we earn that money, we put money. The problem is that in most pensions, the way they're set up nowadays is that it's almost like a Ponzi scheme because you put in...
What?
Trust me.
Are you kidding me?
No, seriously. Think about it for a minute. A Ponzi scheme.
Hildebrand.
No. Listen to what I'm going to say.
I'm finished listening to you.
No.
Scheme.
See, but you're going to be closed-minded about this. Perfect example.
I am going to be closed-minded about it because I live off of a pension.
Okay, but the point being is, see, that's you're being exactly what I said.
I am your demographic when it comes to what you're talking about.
It's good for you, but it sucks for the rest of us because of the fact that, perfect example, there was a story in the Post-Dispatch about a year or so ago, a lady who worked for like 6 or 7 years. I don't know how in the world this happened, but she came in from another state. And she was a superintendent of some school district or something like that. And she only put into the pension system, she put in like, I don't know, $40,000 or $50,000 in the pension system. I mean, total. and now she's making $125,000 a year in pension until the day she dies. Okay, do the math. How do you put in $40,000 and then get $125,000 every single year? Okay, it doesn't work. That's the problem. It's a Ponzi scheme. People put money in thinking.
I don't know how she did that because.
Well, but
that's not the way it works, at least with the government.
But if you go back, and if you had all your paycheck stubs from you working for the FAA, you work for the federal government, okay? If you added up all the money you put in, it's a fraction of what you're getting back, okay? So the problem with that is that would be like me saying, hey, Shelley, lend me $100 today, and in 2 months, I'm going to give you...
You'll gladly pay me Tuesday?
Oh, no, I'll give you $1,000 in 2 months. And you're going to go, no, hold on a minute now. If I lend you $100 today, how are you going to give me $2,000 in a month? Well, I've got this great investment. I'm going to invest in helium widgets, and it's this new thing that the environmentalists are going to like because it's like helium, but it's not. And you're going to like, okay, here's $100. Okay, and in a month or 2 months, you call me back up and you go, hey, I lent you that $100. You told me you give me $2,000, and you go like, well, I don't have it. Okay,
so is that what their pension people are saying to them?
Well, no. The problem with it is that it doesn't work. I mean, it
works just fine for the people that get it.
Yes, but the problem with it is at some point in time, that's part of the big problem with it McClatchy's had is they can't afford the pensions anymore because the people work like if you're like a teacher in the state of Missouri, you work 30 years, you're like a cop, you work 30 years, you get like let's say you're a cop when you get to be a police officer when you're 20. For a perfect example, my cousin started working for Southwestern Bell when he was 18. He retired at 48. Okay? 48, and he's retired, and he gets full benefits, pension to the rest of his life. Okay? Now, unfortunately for him, he didn't live long. He only lived 4 years. So the pension system probably, did okay with him. But yet, there are other people that I know, people that I know who work for various companies who've been retired 10, 15, 20 years, and they have laughed and told me, I'm making 10 times as much as I put into the pension system. Okay? It doesn't work. That's why,
maybe because they were underpaid.
No, the problem
throughout the 30 years.
The problem is that, think about it. The problem is that I remember years ago when
pensions work by putting in a percentage of how much you make. And if you don't make a whole lot,
Shelley,
then you don't put a lot in the pension system.
But once again, if here, let me put it this way: if every paycheck you said, let's say for the next 5 years, every paycheck, every week you put $100 into an account, okay? You put $100 into account, okay? So that would be every week. That'd be $5,200 per 52 weeks. That would be $5,200 per year, okay? And let's say you do that for 10 years, okay? That's $52,000, okay? It's not $520,000. Maybe you got it in an interest-bearing account. Maybe it got some interest, and you got $70,000 out of your $50,000. Okay, but yet it's finite. You only got $70,000. When you spend the $70,000, it's gone. But the way a pension works is they guarantee you that money for the rest of your life. And if you live to be 100 years old, which some people are, they have to pay that every single year, and the money just isn't there. I'm telling you, because of the fact that you go back 100 years when the pensions were big, like you 65, man, you got one foot in the grave, the other foot in a banana peel. You're about ready to go. A lot of people didn't make it to 65. Nowadays, it's not unusual for people to live 70, 80, 90, 100 years old. And if they're on a pension every single year, that pension fund has to come up with that money. And if they're, and keep in mind, we went through the meltdown of the stock market, 2007, 8, 9, when things went into the toilet. I mean, things are great now. If you got money in 401k and IRAs now, if you got it in the market, you're making a ton of money on it. But the problem is that it's there. And you're getting returns on investment from corporations and things like that are producing things, but yet in a public sector, especially like in government, there's nobody producing anything. It's tax dollars that fund that.
Okay, so what does this have to do with McClatchy?
That's
why they're filing.
That's one of the big problems they have. Plus, the other problem is the newspaper business has just become unviable because of the fact that they, I read some.
Everybody's digital. Have they gone digital? Are they rebranding themselves?
That's what this company that's buying them is going to do. And what they're going to do is they're going to get rid of all the printing presses and they're going to go all digital. Unfortunately, they're going to lay a lot of people off. And because that's the way
tragic.
It is. Well, once again, here's the problem you have is that if you're not buying the Post-Dispatch, if you're not reading their ads, you're not supporting that paper. And if you're not supporting that paper, you're not helping pay the people that go out and report the stories and shoot the pictures and print it and, put it online, the whole bit. Instead, like you talk about this all the time. You're a perfect example why the newspapers are dying. I get all my news from Facebook, okay? Facebook doesn't pay anybody to be reporters. They don't have any reporters out there. They're just stealing the stuff off the web from the Post and and the Wall Street Journal and Washington Post and stuff like that. That's what they're doing. They're just stealing the stories and just sticking them on there. Hey, here's a story from the Post-Dispatch you might like. And they get it for free.
Here's the deal. Even if I did get the Post-Dispatch, I would do it digitally. I wouldn't get a hard copy.
But you don't support that. So in other words, you're not supporting local people. You're not supporting Dan Caesar, who writes about radio stations. You're not supporting Rich Gould,
that was so cool.
Who's the sports guy. You're not supporting what's his name, the Tony Messenger, who won the Pulitzer Prize. You're not supporting him. You're not doing anything for him, and yet they're doing stuff for you. How bad do you feel now, Shelley? Tell me how bad you feel. How bad you feel?
Well, you make me feel kind of bad.
That Tony Messenger
I'll get over it.
May not be able
it's
to.
8:03.
Tony Messenger may not be able to buy shoes for his kids because you get all your news from Facebook. And Tony Messenger may not be able to keep his house in Wildwood because you don't send him any money.
It's 8:03. Did I tell you that?
Well, that's going to do it for BS in the Morning for Friday, for Valentine's Day.
Valentine's Day. I hope you get lots of helium balloons, everybody.
You know what?
And chocolate.
Do you know what?
Chocolate-covered strawberries. And helium balloons.
Do you know what I have? And if environmentalists knew this, they would be picketing me right now. You know what I have?
What do you have?
I've got a helium
tank.
I got a helium tank.
Are you going to give me some helium balloons today, Brad?
No.
It's Valentine's Day.
No, Shelley, I don't want to hurt the environment. I wouldn't dare do that.
No, I know that you wouldn't.
I'm going to jump in my Tesla and drive around today and,
You're funny.
Yeah.
Everybody, happy Valentine's Day. I hope that it's filled with lots of love and laughter. And for those that don't have a Valentine, just know that you're loved, and have a great day. It's the sun's out. It's going to be awesome.
And here's what I want each of you to do. Someone who's special in your life, I want you to walk up to them, look in their eyes, look deep into their eyes, and say,
"What does the fox say?" That was deep, Brad.
That's
I thought you were going to say something soulful, and then you did what does the fox say?
That's what I did. And then if that special someone calls you up and says, "Well, how come you're not taking me out to dinner tonight?" You can just, on the phone say to them,
"I got bronchitis."
And that way you don't have to take them out to dinner.
Look at you trying to put the memes in, the audio memes. I believe that.
And
it's time to go. Caleb is waiting.
And guys, if you call up that special someone and you ask her out to dinner tonight for Valentine's Day, and she says something to you like,
I hope she says no, because you should have asked her 4 days ago, if not 2 weeks.
And you say something like, and she says something like,
"I got hairy legs."
You can just say, "I'll bring you some razors."
Oh, a bouquet of sharpened pencils. Aw. That was from when, what is that called? You've Got Mail.
I've never seen that movie.
That doesn't surprise me. So, because you are a rom-com guy, so it does kind of surprise me.
I'm not a rom-com guy.
So it's time for the most important man in St. Charles to step up to the microphone and say...
Christy and Joe Horton, 9th anniversary,
okay.
and Hugh
so
Janus turning 10.
Brad really wants you to have a nice Valentine's Day.
And
he does. He really does.
They can't hear me because they're listening to Kids Bop.
Come
calm down. Calm down.
Yes, number 290 orders now. Ready, please? Guess number 290.
I miss our guy.
That's going to do it for BS in the morning. Have a great weekend. Please be careful this weekend because we're not the biggest radio station. And if we lost 3 listeners, we'd only have 1 listener left. So we can't have that happen.
And that's me.
Right.
So.
And unfortunately, we're not a nonprofit organization, so the finances here are very slim. And you know what I got to do right now?
You got to put Caleb on because it's 8:08.
I'm going to play Caleb, and then I'm going to go check Q2. Okay, you ready? And now, the most important man in St. Charles County steps to the microphone and says...